Sagittarius, there is someone quietly watching your every step. And there is someone else, secretly hoping you fail. They don't scream in your face, they don't throw stones or curse your name. They set traps using kindness, they wrap themselves in the cloak of decency. And you, Sagittarius, are walking straight into it without even knowing. This is not a threat, it is a truth the universe wants you to see before it's too late. In the next 30 minutes, I will show you who is manipulating you, what tactics they're using, and why God has brought you here, exactly at the moment you need it most. If something inside you stirs as you hear these words, leave this sacred affirmation in the comments as a spiritual signal. I am ready to see the truth and free my soul. It's not just a comment, it's a way to reconnect with the divine light guiding your destiny. Now, who is the first person quietly setting a trap for Sagittarius? The one you once believed was family, but who is, in truth, the thorn silently piercing the light within you? Let me tell you what your soul has known all along. Sometimes the first thing we lose is not love, but energy. No one shouts that they're taking it from you. No one signs a contract to drain the life force inside you. They simply approach with a smile, a look of concern, a few kind words, and then, after each encounter, you walk away without realizing. You're more tired, more confused, and carrying less light than the version of you from just yesterday. In astrology, Sagittarius is the living symbol of truth, of expansion, of the soul's fire that refuses to be caged. You are the wild child of the skies, always aiming your arrow at what is right, always looking beyond what is currently visible. And because of that, you are often the target of those who cannot expand. Right now, the Karmic axis, the nodes of destiny, is activating the Gemini-Sagittarius line. Gemini rules information, speech, and the many simulated versions of truth. Sagittarius, on the other hand, rules the ultimate truth, deep intuition, and the sacred call of the spirit that cannot be deceived. When these two energies face off, truth and lies are no longer separate sides. They blur into each other, in a hug, in an innocent question, in a sweet blessing. Energy intrusion doesn't always happen in darkness. It happens more often in places where you never expected it. In places you thought were safe. In moments where you believed they would never hurt me. I once worked with a client, a Sagittarius woman, with eyes full of fire and a heart made for adventure. She told me, "I always help others. I always open my heart. But after every interaction, it feels like I've lost a piece of myself. Like I have to step back so the other person can step forward." I stayed silent for a moment, then said, "You weren't wrong to give, but you were wrong to believe your light was infinite. You, Sagittarius, you are the light. But light is not obligated to keep shining for those who are trying to dim you. There is a powerful symbol meant just for you at this moment, the bow, the ancient symbol of Sagittarius. When a Sagittarius draws their bow, it is the moment of greatest power, but also the moment of highest vulnerability. One tempting offer, one pang of guilt, one familiar memory, and the arrow of truth can easily miss its mark. Not everyone who comes near you does so out of love. Some come because they need your energy to survive. They don't know how to connect with their own light, so they cling to yours. First they admire you, then they envy you, and then they begin to manipulate you. Are you in a relationship that makes you shrink more each day just to keep the peace? Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like your heart was lost in fog? If so, that is the earliest sign of energy intrusion. Comment this if you feel it in your soul. I am revisiting the places that have drained my spirit without reason. This is not just a sentence. It is a spiritual key to begin reclaiming the energy that has been quietly taken from you. One of the mistakes the strong often make is thinking, "I can handle just a little more." But the soul doesn't measure strength by how much you can endure. It measures it by how wisely you know when to stop to protect the light within. I want you to imagine this. A flame burning inside a glass dome. At first, it's radiant. But over time, someone keeps opening the lid. Just a little. And then a little more. The wind slips in. The fire still burns, but smaller. And you don't notice it because you've gotten used to being dimmed without knowing why. Don't wait until that flame becomes a fading ember. This phase of your life is meant to wake you up, not through dreams, but through feelings. You don't need physical proof, just trust the signs. Your body feels exhausted even when you've done nothing hard. Your intuition raises red flags, but your logic keeps making excuses. Your trust begins to fade around certain people. Do you know why your light attracts attention? Because Sagittarius is the torchbearer. You were born to light the way. You are one of the few signs that can turn heartbreak into wisdom and pain into guidance. That is why those who are not ready to grow see you as a threat. And they don't need to destroy you. They just need you to start doubting yourself. Are you doubting yourself more than you should? If the answer is yes, comment this sacred remembering. I am remembering the strongest version of myself. I am not here to scare you. I am here to remind you, the intrusion ends when you choose to close the door that no longer feeds your soul. You don't need to apologize for choosing light. You don't have to stay in a place that drains you just because it once felt warm. And now, a bigger question is waiting. So who are they? Who gives off gentle energy, but leaves your heart too quiet to sing? Who's intruding upon you, not with violence, but with sweet demands? Hold tightly to your intuition. Because what you're about to see is the first face of manipulation, the one hiding behind the mask of family. There is someone who has always been there when you were weak. They held your hand when you fell. They wiped your tears on the days you didn't want to continue. They stood by you through breakups, failures, and the times you lost faith in the world. But strangely, when you started to smile again, they quietly stepped back. When your light began to return, their gaze slowly faded. And when you truly started to shine, they disappeared. In astrology, when the moon, ruler of emotion, memory, and buried pain, moves through Sagittarius's fourth house, it reawakens everything we thought was long asleep. A name, a glance, a scent, even the memory of a hand once holding yours as your world fell apart. But not everyone who stood with you in your collapse deserves a front row seat when you rise. I want to tell you a story about a woman, also a Sagittarius, who once messaged me just one brief sentence. Why do I feel the loneliest right after achieving what I dreamed of? We sat together for a long time under the soft glow of a November evening, and in the layers of her story, I saw the reflections of so many people in our lives. People who wrap us in the warmest looking cloaks, only to bind us to them. In the smallest version of ourselves, there is a kind of person like that. They love you, as long as you don't surpass them. They support you, as long as your success doesn't make them feel less. They always say, I'm here for you, but only when you're at your lowest. When you rise, you begin to see. Family is not always love, and some promises of forever only survive in the dark rooms of shared pain. That cloak feels warm, yes, but it restrains you, keeps you in the role of the wounded child, pulls you back every time you try to move forward. Like a soft whisper, don't change. If you change, I won't stay. I want to share a personal truth from the perspective of someone who's read thousands of birth charts over the past 50 years. The most dangerous person is not the one who hates you. It's the one who loves you conditionally. They love you, but only when you're broken. They love you, but can't stand to see you stand tall. And even more frightening, you once called them family. Sagittarius, you live with your heart. You don't like calculation. You believe in pure kindness. You believe that if you live honestly and harm no one will harm you. But the universe does not operate on fairness. It operates on awakening. Maybe right now you're thinking of someone you were once grateful to, for staying when you were suffering. But now you feel the need to hide your joy when you're around them, to dim your dreams, to silence your confidence, just so they don't feel left behind. If that's true, then you're inside a trap. Do you have someone in your life who only shows up when you're in pain and disappears when you're happy? If so, comment this as a release to your soul. I release the small version of myself others wanted me to keep. The greatest soul lesson is not forgiveness. It is the courage to walk away from what no longer offers real love. It's strange. There are people who love you most when you're at your worst. Not because they're bad, but because in those moments, they feel they matter. And when you begin to heal, they feel unneeded. And instead of celebrating your wholeness, they retreat. We cannot blame them. But we can choose not to shrink ourselves just to keep others from leaving. Think about it. How many times have you turned down opportunities, delayed your dreams, or made yourself smaller just because someone didn't support you? You did it unconsciously because you were afraid of losing connection, afraid of no longer being loved. But you never have to trade your light to hold on to love. If these words are tightening your throat, comment this affirmation: I choose my light, even if it means someone else walks away. Sagittarius, this moon moving through your fourth house is the perfect time to re-examine your roots. Family is not just where we are born, it is where the soul feels nourished. If you find yourself always dimming your power, holding back your brilliance, or suppressing your future, then that is no longer home. You have the right to walk away without guilt. You have the right to love without having to prove it. You have the right to be seen in your fullest, most truthful form. And now, having seen all this, the next question is, who is the second person? They don't share your blood. They don't call you daughter or sister. But they know exactly how to use compliments to keep you close. This second person doesn't attack you with judgment. They use your own light to turn you into their hostage. And I will tell you their story right after this. They didn't come to you with criticism. They didn't publicly belittle you. Quite the opposite. They were the ones who praised you the most. You're so special. You're amazing. You're the light. Sounds familiar? But here's what you didn't know. Behind your back, they said, your light was too bright. So bright, they couldn't stand it. When Mercury goes retrograde in the third house of Sagittarius, the house of speech, communication, and misunderstandings, words are no longer just truth. They become tools, not for exchange, but for disguise. A compliment stops being recognition. It becomes a fogged mirror, distorting your reflection, and you don't even realize it. I once asked a client, "Why do you trust them so much?" She answered, "Because they always told me I was special. They encouraged me." But a few months later, she broke down in tears when she discovered the same person called her arrogant behind her back. All those uplifting words that once made her believe in herself had been twisted and used to tell others she thinks the world revolves around her. There's a bitter truth that every awakened soul must learn. Not all praise is love. Not everyone who calls you the light actually wants you to shine. Some people praise you to keep you still, to keep your guard down, so that when they start manipulating you, you won't notice. Because you're thinking, they care about me. They make you believe you're truly seen. They paint a beautiful picture of you, but it's not the real you. And slowly, you begin to feel like a stranger to yourself. Because the way they see you is not rooted in understanding. It's rooted in control, in crafting an image that suits them. You start seeing yourself through their words, but you can't find truth in that reflection anymore. Have you ever found out that someone who seemed kind was actually spreading stories behind your back? If yes, comment this to free yourself from that internal conflict. I choose to see the truth behind kind words. In my decades of reading thousands of birth charts, I've learned this. Some attack with cruelty, but the clever ones control with sweetness. Do you know what these people say about you? To your face, you're brilliant. Everyone should learn from you. But behind your back, she's just trying too hard. It won't last. And you, Sagittarius, with your open, trusting heart, never doubted it. You even felt grateful. You thought, how lucky I am to be understood. But then the confusion started. You began to feel surrounded by misunderstandings. You sensed someone was twisting your story. People looked at you differently, and you didn't know why. Until one day, you discovered it was the same person who once called you the light. Kindness is beautiful, but only when it's paired with wisdom. If you only love someone for their praise, you might be handing them the power to rewrite your image in a distorted version the moment you turn your back. Don't fear being disliked, fear being falsely loved, because someone who hates you openly is easier to face. But someone who praises you with insincerity can distort you completely without you even noticing. I'm not saying this to make you cynical. I'm saying this so you can start listening to your soul. Have you ever left a conversation with someone friendly and felt strangely uneasy? Have you ever wondered, why does their compliment make me feel unsafe? If so, you're not paranoid. You're intuitively sensing a hidden truth. Say this to anchor your worth. I don't need praise to know I'm worthy. Sagittarius, you weren't born to live off others' approval. You were born to walk your own path, even if that path makes others uncomfortable. Not because you're trying to outshine anyone, but because you were born not to stay still. When Mercury retrogrades through your third house, truth doesn't live in words, it lives in feelings. Ask yourself, who stays close when you're silent? Who defends you when you're not in the room? Who praises you, yet still respects your light when it outshines theirs? True kindness doesn't need poetic words. It shows in unjudging eyes, in silent protection, in letting you be fully yourself without retouching your soul. Are you staying in a relationship just because their sweetness makes it hard to walk away? If yes, leave an honest comment. I'm ready to say no to sweetness that doesn't come from truth. And if your heart feels torn right now, remember this: you are not alone. God didn't bring you to this realization by accident. If you're watching this, if your chest feels heavy, it's because your soul is ready to be protected. I believe you won't wait for more pain to understand. You've already seen it, you've already felt it. Now, it's time to choose. And if you think that simply walking away from toxic people is enough, then you might need to stay just a little longer. Because behind these traps lies the very moment you're being led toward your new destiny. A warning disguised in gentleness. A door is opening, but not for the one who hesitates. There is a very quiet moment when you begin to feel something is no longer right, not through logic, but through a feeling. A blink that lingers longer than usual when looking at someone. A breath that stutters when you hear a familiar phrase. A vague confusion, as if your soul is whispering, something feels off, but I'm not sure what. You're beginning to wake up, but not fully yet. You're walking the fragile line between intuition and reason, between heart and memory. You feel something shifting inside, but you're not ready to name it. Because if you name it, you fear you'll have to act. And if you act, you fear you'll lose someone or something you once cherished deeply. In astrology, Jupiter, the planet of truth, expansion, and belief, also rules Sagittarius. And right now, Jupiter is approaching Chiron, the asteroid of soul wounds and deep healing. When these two energies meet, you can no longer avoid the truth. But you also can't touch it just yet, because it hurts. Awakening always begins with doubt. Not doubt in others, but doubt in yourself. You begin to wonder, maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe they didn't mean it like that. Maybe I'm just too sensitive. But then, one morning, you wake up and realize silence is no longer peaceful. A familiar conversation suddenly feels hollow. A friend you used to trust now drains your energy just minutes after meeting. That's not hypersensitivity, that's awakening. It's like the faint dawn at 4 a.m. At first, you can't tell if it's light or just another dream. But minute by minute, you can no longer deny it. Morning is coming, and the truth can no longer hide. My view, spoken from the deep experience of a lifetime, is this: awakening doesn't begin when you know the truth. It begins when you can no longer live while ignoring your intuition. You can't pretend you don't see. You can't keep smiling while something inside is cracking. God doesn't reveal truth to scare you. He reveals it to prepare you for a new life. A path no longer based on compromise. A life no longer dependent on what others think of you. And I understand. Doubting someone you once loved is more painful than betrayal itself. Because if they were wrong, then you were wrong to trust. And Sagittarius, with your open heart, hates nothing more than doubting your own heart. But let me say this, softly and sincerely. To love wrongly doesn't make you weak. It makes you more human. It makes you more honest with yourself. And that is the beginning of a mature soul. If you're in this hazy place where you see it but haven't accepted it yet, write this down as a small act to awaken the courage within. I am ready to see what my soul has known all along. This isn't just a phrase. It's a call for the light to return. Astrology doesn't predict the future. It reveals when the sacred moment for transformation has come, and that moment is now. If you're reading this, if your heart is trembling, if tears are forming without a clear reason, then I want you to know this isn't just a video. This is a mirror you've passed many times, but today you paused long enough to finally see your true self. And if you're still hesitating, ask yourself, what kind of life will I keep living if I continue to close my eyes to this truth? and then ask what might open for me if I dare to face it. A door has opened, softly, but just enough for the light to get through. You don't have to run, just take one more step. Just breathe, trust, and let your soul guide you. Eventually, all of us will stand at a crossroads. No noise, no signs, just two roads. One, the path you've known, where no explanations are needed, where everyone believes they understand who you are, or at least think they do. That's the comfort zone, the familiar, where you can keep existing without being questioned, judged, or left behind. And the other is a path without a name, no map, only light, and a whisper that's quiet, but impossible to ignore. Sagittarius, you are standing right at that crossroads. In astrology, this is the moment when the north node of destiny is activating your 10th house, the house of purpose, mission, and the choices that shape your future. And when that happens, the universe no longer asks, "What do you want?" It asks, "Do you have the courage to become who you truly are?" I know, the past has a strange pull, not because it was beautiful, but because you became familiar with the pain there. You knew how you would react. You knew what others expected of you, and you lived according to those expectations for so long, you began to believe they were you. But Sagittarius was not born to stay. You are the zodiac of spiritual journeys. You are the soul's longing to seek the truth, even if that truth breaks apart everything you once called stable. Imagine this, you are standing in front of a door. Behind you is what you once called home. But in truth, it was just the place where you learned how to stay silent, where you learned how to fit in, where you learned not to speak your truth, just to be accepted. Now light is shining on another door. No one will open it for you. No one is waiting on the other side. Only the voice of your soul, quietly reminding you, it's time to leave. There is a life philosophy I believe in with all my heart. True freedom is not knowing what you want. It is having the courage to leave behind what once felt like home, when that place no longer nourishes your soul. You have forgiven, but you don't have to go back. You've understood, but you don't have to stay to be understood. You once needed them, but today you need yourself more. Will you choose familiar safety or the kind of freedom that is honest with your soul? Leave your answer as a sacred declaration. I choose truth, even if the road has no name. You will have days of hesitation, nights when you long to go back, just because that voice is familiar. Mornings where silence fills the room and you wonder, where am I going? Does anyone still understand me? But soon you will realize, this is the first time in your life that you are no longer living through the permission of someone else. You are living as an awakened soul. Not perfect, but real. Jupiter, your ruling planet, never leads you to shallow waters. He takes you to higher places, even if it means passing through volcanoes, storms, or the loneliness of the beginning. But at the end of that road, you will stand where the light belongs to you. And for the first time, you won't have to bow your head to be loved. If it feels like the universe is closing all your old doors, it's true. Not because you're being punished, but because you're being set free. Here's one last question that may keep you awake tonight. What do you fear more? Losing someone or losing yourself? If you are ready to move forward, if you've been quiet long enough to hear your own calling, then ahead of you is the light. There is no map, but there is one truth more certain than anything else. This is your road. Dear Sagittarius, if you've stayed until this very moment, it means your soul is ready. Ready to leave the familiar cage. Ready not to turn back, even if the past calls your name. Ready to live a life where you no longer ask for permission to be who you are. I know the path ahead is not easy, but you are not alone, because the light has chosen you, and you, with the deepest courage, have chosen yourself. Thank you for believing, for feeling, and for being here. If your heart has just been stirred awake, share this video as a way to protect the souls still caught between the light and the illusion. And leave a comment, I have chosen my path, as a sacred imprint, so the universe knows you are ready for what's next. See you on the next journey of light. We still have far to go, but this time, you won't have to shrink yourself anymore.